What's up, YouTube? The Master Gamer here, bringing you guys another video. Today's video is the second game, it's not second game rather, but the second video in the Road to Pro series with the XYL.
What's up, guys?
Today we're going to be working on the defense that he's going to be running. So I'm going to be showing you guys, again, pretty simple offense defense, but I want to give him an offense and defense to run. That's going to be pretty straightforward. Not too much to it, just so he has a basis for growing on. So the defense we're going to be running is nickel 335 odd, LB cross show 2, again very popular defense. And there's a few ways to run it. Right now we're in practice mode. Testing blitzes in practice mode isn't the best, but in terms of showing you the steps to running it, it's going to be the easiest, so it might not come in every time. That being said, crossfire doesn't really come in every time. It's kind of a random defense, and that's why it works. So all you're going to want to do here, baseline, shift D-line up, and then you have options. So this is the flip version. So we're going to be using on Roberts. Obviously you could run it flip, not flipped. It's really just preference. That being said, flipped is probably better. So you want to be using the linebacker on the side of the nickelback. Always.
Okay.
And spread D-line, always. Baseline, always. You don't need to press with this defense. Now, if you're sending 4, you generally want to crash right. That's it. Generally shade down, shade up. You have a few different ways of mixing your zones. You could cross-man your zones. You cross-man the free safety if it's flipped, strong safety if it's not flipped. Your 3-arc zone is one of the better zones in the game, though, so you want to keep it a lot. But if you don't adjust that safety, your defense can kind of get too predictable, so it's worth noting. But right here, you're going to see, it doesn't come in, but the sheds are also really good, and that's another reason why this defense works. Sending 4, it's going to be the least consistent of the bunch. Now, another option is going to be blitz this linebacker right here. This is where you're going to want to start adjusting your safeties. Put your safety in a hard flat to stop some of those weird corner routes. Safety in a hard flat is a very good adjustment in this game because it stops those short corner routes while at the same time playing hard flat. So it's almost too good. Now, the benefit of this Crossfire 2 and having all these different setups is that it makes the blocking more consistent. One of the best things about Crossfire is that it's kind of random, and people don't really have one set way of blocking it. Everybody I talk to almost has a different way of blocking it. So by mixing in what variant you're sending, it's going to mess with everybody's blocking. That's why I personally like to have 2 or 3 ways to pick up Crossfire, and that's what I do have. I know I use Dreeny's way of blocking Crossfire for some people. And because I was having an issue blocking Crossfire against someone I was talking to Dreeny, and he mentioned the way he was doing it and it worked, but then the next game I played against somebody else's Crossfire, it didn't work and my way was working. So it really just depends on who you're playing and what setup they're using. So that's why Crossfire is so good. Again, there's also this variant where, again, spread D-line, crash up, and send a nickel. And you're going to want to use it this flat yourself. And you're going to see here, again, puts a lot of pressure on the pocket. Nickel will come in fast. The only thing you really need to worry about in terms of Crossfire is the quarterback scramble, and that's really something that's going to come into play a decent amount. Now, also another option you have, this I would only do this rarely, but if you really want to make sure your heat's going to come in, this is probably the best way of doing it, and just hold this gap. And that way, you see how the center was forced to kind of hold off a sec? That's what you want to do, and you were able to get that really good shed angle because of it. Now, you also could crash up with this. Again, kind of mixing in crash right, crash up, and all of these contained is probably the best way of playing it. That way, it throws the offense off, doesn't really get them one good set of blocking, and right there, again, because that loop blitz, you're forced to disengage, and the D-tackle is able to come free. So this defense is simple yet complicated. It's an easy defense to run. It's a hard defense to be really good at. So it really just comes down to being predictably unpredictable, almost. And that's what this defense does the best. Send a random guy here, on 4th down, send everybody. And at that point, just kind of mess with your adjustments, throw them off their game, and at that point, it really just comes down to making a play. Lurk the right route, make the right adjustment, and you'll win that game. Again, here's with contains. Man, that'll keep them in the pocket. You can even put a dude in a spy. It's really, again, the benefit of this defense is you can have a lot of options. And there's a lot of different things you can do just to throw off the offense. There's a lot of different ways to make this blitz come in. So from that, it really just comes down to you just like doing a thing. And if the thing works, great. If it doesn't work, on the next play, do another thing. And just don't let them keep doing what they want to do. Take away what they want to go to the most. And at that point, make the heat kind of random. I think the one thing that I think people do with this defense that people do a lot and they shouldn't do is they have the same setup. This defense doesn't come in all the time. It doesn't. But it comes in kind of randomly because of that. And that's almost where the advantage is. So you just kind of do a different setup and one of them's going to work. And then they're going to change what they're doing and you're going to be in a different setup and then that's going to work. And it's just kind of like that where you need to get the sack at the right time. And there's no real way of knowing when it's going to be, so your adjustments and your user has to be kind of on point. That being said, it's kind of an easy defense to run because it's that random. Like it's just going to do its thing on its own out of nowhere and you're going to be like, oh, whoop. And the offense can't really react to that. It's just going to come in. They're going to have to hope they make the right read, or they throw it away, or they have to play perfect when it does come in, or else that's going to put them in a hole. And once they're in a hole, you have to capitalize. So, is there anything with this that you want to know, whether it be covered shells or anything like that?
I don't know if you mentioned it already, but how does it do it against the run?
It's alright against the run. So, what you're going to want to know against the run is if they're running like an inside zone. What I would do is I would man up my user on the running back, just because it won't pull you away from the play like a zone would. And if they're running an inside zone, you'd want to stand right outside the tackle here, and just shoot in when they snap it, right in this gap right here. And then that'll generally open up, especially with the looper running into it. Now, if they're like this, say they're running inside zone like this, what I would prefer to do is I'd prefer to play backside, because you have to worry about your looper obviously taking yourself out of the play. You want to make sure that you're the last line of defense and probably bring the safety down. You might want to even cross-man him just so he's better run fit.
Okay.
But that being said, that's only if you feel like the run's coming. If you're pretty confident in the pass, don't. Like, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but again, if you think they're going to run, I'd probably man up him. I'd stay backside again just to play help defense. If you play front side and you missed, it's probably a touchdown.
Right.
Now, if it's a base, you're going to want to shoot backside. It's literally the same exact thing, but you're shooting backside as opposed to front side.
Okay.
So, like, again, same gap, except they're going left with base. So, I'll even show it here. Not even on base.
Dot.
I mean, that was impressive. But, yeah, I mean, it's literally the same thing, but backwards. You just want to make sure you have a fast user for base. It's more important on base than inside zone, because obviously inside zone you're gonna be front side, whereas in base you're gonna be backside. So you have to catch up to the running back. But yeah, and then outside of that, the only other thing that I could think of mentioning is you do have the option of making it a cover 2, and obviously deep half both safeties, cloud flat the outside corners. At that point, you could even more adjust it. You could send 5 and then man up your nickel. You could send 6. Like you have options when you do this. Obviously, when you make it a cover 2, you take away that 3 receiver hook zone, and that's one of the better zones. But you're going to be doing that anyway, so don't be afraid to make it a cover 2. At a time, like I obviously wouldn't make it a base defense a cover 2, but I would mix it on occasion if they have something that's killing cover 3. And it does give you that option again to man up that slot corner, which is nice. So you got anything else? Any questions or any general ideas with this defense? That yeah. All right. So outside of that. The only other thing that you're going to want to know is for red zone, 3-4 odd, cover 4, crash down, put it in your spot. I mean, or shade down rather than crash down. And that pretty much does the defense. At least the 3-5 odd defense is pretty straightforward. And again, there are more layers to it, and that's kind of with the randomness. There isn't much more to the 3-5 odd as there is to the offense. I feel like the offense is a whole lot more, whereas in the defense, it's kind of just manning up certain people for certain formations. That's getting a lot more specific. I'm not going to get into that too much right now. That being said, the defense is very good how it is, and it is definitely enough to win games. That being said, it has been the Master Gamer, and I'm out.